Top 3 Scariest and Craziest Halloween Murders. The Cyanide Candy Man. Dedicated Christian Ronald Clark O'Bryan was a husband and father of 2 young children, Elizabeth, 5, and Timothy, 8. He worked as an optician in Deer Park, Texas. Although Ronald appeared to have it all, there was something amiss about him. On the eve of Halloween in 1974, Ronald was in danger of being fired by his employer, Texas State Optical. Ronald's boss suspected he had stolen money from the office. This dismissal would not be the first time Ronald had been laid off. He had 21 different jobs over 10 years. Every time Ronald was fired, it was because of fraudulent behavior or theft on his part. The situation was more stressful because Ronald also had serious debt exceeding $100,000. Even with his current salary, Ronald could barely feed his family. What could happen if he lost his job? In 1974, Ronald decided to trick-or-treat with the children, much to his wife's surprise. Ronald had never taken the kids out on Halloween before, but he seemed eager to do so this year. A friend of the O'Bryan family and his children joined Ronald, Elizabeth, and Timothy on their trick-or-treating expedition. Timothy and Elizabeth had a blast trick-or-treating in their Planet of the Apes costumes. When brother and sister ran to the next house, Ronald stayed back. Having filled their bags full of candy, Timothy and Elizabeth walked back to their dad. Their father had a surprise for them as soon as they walked back to him. Ronald said the people who didn't answer the door were in the street passing out candy. They had given him 5 giant pixie sticks to distribute to his children. He gave 2 pixie sticks to Timothy and Elizabeth, and 2 to Jim Bates' children as well. When Ronald walked by a child who was trick-or-treating at Halloween, he offered him the last pixie sticks that he had left. Having eaten a lot of candy on Halloween, Timothy asked his dad if he could have one more piece before bed. Choosing the pixie sticks as his midnight snack, Timothy found it difficult to loosen the powder. Timothy complained to Ronald that the candy tasted bitter, so Ronald gave him Kool-Aid to wash it down. Minutes after eating the candy, Timothy became ill. Ronald found his son in severe pain and convulsing over the toilet. As soon as Timothy passed out, Ronald called 911 to get help. Sadly, rescue efforts to save Timothy were unsuccessful. 1 hour after eating the powdered candy, Timothy died on his way to the hospital. Investigators collected the 4 other pixie sticks. Luckily, none of the other pixie sticks had been opened. The medical examiner found enough cyanide in each pixie sticks to kill 4 adults. Someone must have filled the candy with 2 inches of cyanide and sealed it. After giving contradictory statements to police about which house gave him the pixie sticks, the detectives soon became suspicious of Ronald. The police began looking into Ronald's background and discovered he had severe financial problems. They also found that Ronald had taken out multiple life insurance policies on Elizabeth and Timothy to cover his financial losses. It was also discovered Ronald inquired about cyanide with several chemical companies. Ronald jokingly asked one employee how much cyanide would kill someone. On November 5, 1974, Ronald was arrested for the murder of his son, Timothy, despite maintaining his innocence. It took the jury less than 1 hour to sentence Ronald to death in June 1975. Despite several appeals during his stay on death row, Ronald was executed at the Texas Penitentiary in Huntsville on March 31, 1984. Parents still warn their children about Ronald O'Bryan, the bogeyman who poisoned a little boy's candy on Halloween night. The man who killed Halloween. 9-year-old Lisa Ann French from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, couldn't wait to have fun trick-or-treating with her best friend, Ann Parker, on Halloween 1973. They planned to attend the pumpkin place party at the community hall. Because Ann did something on Halloween that her parents punished her for, Lisa had to go to the party alone. Lisa had planned to dress up as a butterfly for Halloween that year, but she had to adjust her costume due to the cold weather in Wisconsin. As an alternative, Lisa dressed as a hobo, wore a green coat and a floppy hat, and applied makeup to create freckles. Her parents told Lisa she could trick-or-treat along the way to the party if she wanted. As a condition, Lisa wasn't allowed to stop at people's houses if she didn't know them. With a curfew of 7 p.m., Lisa headed out at about 6 p.m. She trick-or-treated 3 houses before arriving at Pumpkin Place. Lisa's neighbor Karen gave her a chocolate bar at the first house. Lisa got more candy from her classmate who lived next door. The last stop on Lisa's route to the pumpkin patch was Gerald Turner, a close family friend. In 1973, Gerald was in his mid-20s and had recently moved into a house near the French family. Gerald lived in the house with his girlfriend, Arlene Penn, and their newborn baby. Lisa loved Gerald and often spent time with him and his baby. Since Gerald was also their friend, Lisa's parents were not bothered by this. Lisa's mother didn't worry at 7 p.m. when Lisa hadn't returned home. She decided to give her daughter another few minutes before getting anxious. When Lisa wasn't back by 7:03 p.m., her mom called the police. By 10 p.m., news of Lisa's disappearance spread around the neighborhood, and volunteers began scouring the streets. Several searchers rode on horseback, and helicopters flew over the area looking for Lisa. The local gas station even offered 25 gallons of free gas to volunteers using their vehicles for the search. A total of 5,000 people participated in the search for the little girl. Neighbors kept their porch lights on just in case and adorned trees and telephone poles with flyers advertising her whereabouts. The search for Lisa Ann French ended on November 3, 1973, when a farmer spotted 2 black plastic trash bags discarded on the side of the road. Upon emptying the first bag, the farmer found a green coat, a floppy hat, and Halloween candy. After opening the second bag, he discovered Lisa's new dead body. He called 911 immediately. Lisa was brutally sexually assaulted and may have died from asphyxiation or a heart attack from the violent attack. Investigators called Gerald Turner down to the police station for questioning because it seemed to be the last place Lisa would stop, but he denied seeing her. Gerald's house was searched when police canvassed the neighborhood after Lisa disappeared, but investigators found nothing. Lisa's case remained cold until investigators visited Gerald in March 1974. An investigator found out Gerald had rented part of Lisa's father's duplex a year before. There were plenty of trick-or-treaters at Gerald's house on Halloween night, but he couldn't remember if Lisa was one of them. The investigators returned to Gerald's house 1 month later and asked him to go to the station with them. After giving inconsistent answers, Gerald finally admitted Lisa did knock on his door that Halloween night. That night, Lisa came to Gerald's door looking for candy, feeling highly sexualized. Gerald lured Lisa into his bedroom, where he violently sexually assaulted her. He said she died in the attack. Gerald claimed Lisa's death was an accident. A jury sentenced Gerald to 38 years in prison for second-degree murder. After Lisa Ann French's murder, trick-or-treating was only allowed during daylight hours, usually on the Sunday before Halloween. It wasn't just one woman he killed, it was an entire community. The brutal assault on 9-year-old Lisa forever changed Fond du Lac. Halloween murder takes 10 years to solve. Shauna Howe, age 11, started the walk home from her Girl Scouts Halloween party on October 24, 1992. A friend and Shauna walked halfway together, but they parted ways when Shauna had to walk straight and her friend had to turn. Between saying goodbye to her friend and walking home, someone took Shauna. After it grew dark, Shauna's stepfather became concerned. When Shauna's mom said Shauna should have already been home, her stepdad began making calls to local hospitals. When her mom returned home around 10 p.m., they called the police to report Shauna missing. When police responded to Shauna's parents' call, a man came to the station to report a violent kidnapping. The man said he witnessed an unkempt man grab a young girl as she walked alone between West 1st and Reed Street. Police officers immediately assumed Shauna was the abducted girl. Shauna would have had to cross those streets on her way home. Investigators immediately set up a roadblock and began searching for Shauna. Everyone in the neighborhood searched for Shauna, but there was no sign of her until 2 days later. While walking through the woods, someone found a piece of Shauna's gymnastics costume. Detectives sent Shauna's bodysuit into the lab for testing, and the examiner found seminal DNA on the outfit. DNA technology was still in its infancy in 1992, so finding a DNA match was not an option. After a search of the area, Shauna's lifeless body was located a few yards from where her costume had been. Even though investigators searched the entire area the day before when they found her costume, nobody was discovered. Investigators believe whoever took Shauna dumped her body there overnight. An autopsy showed Shauna was alive when she died from blunt force trauma. During the 10-year investigation, the police did everything they could to find Shauna's murderer. In 2002, DNA technology made significant improvements. The DNA submitted by a man named Jim O'Brien for a 1995 assault held the answers to what happened to Shauna in 1992. The DNA on Shauna's gymnastic outfit matched Jim O'Brien's. An additional DNA sample on the bodysuit belonged to Timothy O'Brien, Jim's brother. Until the DNA match, the O'Brien brothers were not suspected since police believed they were incarcerated in October 1992. Elder Ted Walker hosted the O'Brien brothers in 1992. Since Ted Walker looked like the eyewitness description of the unkempt man, he was suspected of Shauna's murder for years. When investigators tested Ted's DNA, it didn't match the genetic material on Shauna's clothes, and investigators had no choice but to look into other suspects. Ted returned to the police department again for questioning in 2002. He told investigators many different stories about what transpired on October 27, 1992, but eventually, he gave them the closest version of the truth. The plan was for him and the O'Brien brothers to kidnap someone to embarrass the local police department. They thought they had found the ideal target when they saw Shauna walking home from her Girl Scout party. Ted said he put Shauna in his car, but did not return to his house with the O'Brien brothers. Timothy threatened to hurt his son unless Ted left Shauna alone with the brothers. While Shauna screamed for help, Ted drove away. A deal with Ted was struck whereby he pleaded guilty to third-degree murder and kidnapping. In September 2006, the O'Brien brothers were found guilty of murder, kidnapping, and conspiracy. They were acquitted of first-degree murder and sexual assault charges and sentenced to life in prison. After Shauna's murder, Oil City, Pittsburgh banned nighttime trick-or-treating. However, the city council overturned the ban in time for Halloween 2008. So there you have it. Which story did you find to be the scariest or craziest? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this video fascinating, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel for more awesome stories. Thanks for watching, and see you soon in the next video.